I'm sure you've heard of this little documentary on Netflix called The Tinder Swindler. It took the world by storm and everyone was talking about it. If you haven't watched it yet, here's a quick recap. It's about this billionaire who scammed women he met on Tinder out of thousands of dollars. And spoiler alert, he wasn't really a billionaire. But little did we know that a similar scam was being run on women much closer to home. Meet Ramesh Kumar Swain, an Odisha man the media has now dubbed the Indian Tinder Swindler. According to Vice World News, the 67-year-old con artist reportedly married and defrauded close to 20 women from 10 different states. Some of the amounts he scammed ran up to 23 lakhs. And it doesn't stop there. He went so far as to scam banks to prove his wealth to the tune of over 1 crore. That's a lot of money. Sanjeev Satpathy, Odisha's Assistant Police Commissioner, told Vice World News that his targets were usually women in their 40s, single, and mostly divorced. But they were all well established in life, meaning they had a lot of cash. His only intention was to grab their money and also have conjugal relations with them, he added. That does kind of sound like someone we know. And here's the interesting part. The women Swain duped were doctors, an officer in India's paramilitary force, a Supreme Court lawyer, and a senior executive at a corporate company. The cops explained that Swain wasn't any kind of Romeo or Casanova. He simply took advantage of the women's desire for companionship. According to the investigation, Swain was chatting with about 100 women on different dating and matrimonial sites. In fact, according to Satpathy, some of them were even scheduled to marry him within the next 2 months. How he was eventually caught is super interesting and almost exactly like what went down in Netflix's Tinder Swindler. One of his targets was one of the women he was scamming and she managed to get him caught. Vice World News spoke to Sanjana, whose name was changed for protection, and she explained how it all went down. And let me tell you, it is a wild scam. Sanjana started speaking to Swain on a prominent matrimonial site. According to her, he claimed to be at a very important government job at the Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. And the photos on his profile seem to indicate the same. She told Vice World News he showed documents to prove these credentials when he came down to my house. They finally met in Delhi in 2018. Swain was a short, kind of portly man who wore glasses and had a thick mustache. Sanjana said he just had a way of winning her trust. After a short but intense romance, they were actually married and then they moved to Bhubaneswar together. And this is where Sanjana's life started to get a whole lot messier. She started finding some shocking evidence against her new husband, and she was then informed by her domestic help that Swain was actually already married to other women. One day when he was out, she started searching the apartment and discovered papers and documents showcasing that she wasn't in fact his first wife. She even found 2 other contacts in his phone saved as wife 1 and wife 2. Of course, after finding all of this, she gathered all the evidence and left the house. The next thing she did was reach out to one of Swain's other wives, and the things she found out were beyond her wildest dreams. Turns out the other woman was actually a doctor, and Swain had 3 full-grown kids with her. She told Vice World News that she believes this woman was not a duped party, but actually an accomplice to his crimes. I called to tell her what her husband is up to, and in return, her son verbally abused me and told me not to come in the middle of his father's business. Quite a business if you ask me. Deciding that this was just too much to take, Sanjana travelled back to New Delhi, but Swain reached out to her and charmed her into coming back. And she did. But the shocking thing is that when she returned, she found out that Swain had already married someone else. Sanjana disclosed everything to the other woman and then they both left Swain. She and another victim filed a complaint with the cops. She is currently in touch with 5 other women reportedly conned by Swain. When the investigation was open, new information started coming out, and believe me when I tell you, all of it just seems like the plot of an extremely masala Bollywood film. In the Vice World News report, Satpathy, the investigative officer, said that Swain's first marriage took place in 1978, followed by his second in 2002, with the woman that Sanjana believes became an accomplice. After 2018, Swain started marrying multiple women to rob them of all the wealth they had, all the jewelry they had, and basically just taking everything away from them. He'd been using at least 4 different identities, several fake credentials like degrees in biochemistry, different stories about his life, fake jobs, as well as a dozen credit cards with different names. And it gets even more intense. According to the police, before all of these marriage scams, Swain was arrested in 2006 and in 2010 for defrauding 13 banks to the sum of over 1 crore. He'd also been involved in scamming medical students out of thousands, promising to secure them with government jobs. The case is currently ongoing, and the police hope that more women come forward to strengthen their investigation against Swain so that he can finally be brought to justice for all the women that he defrauded.
Did you enjoy this video? If you did, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. We at Nutshell love to explore different stories, bring to you weird and uncovered histories, and explain complex subjects. So if that's something you're looking for, this is the channel for you.